Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Women Who Lead. This episode, which we've titled Power Players, is a tribute to the remarkable women in banking and mortgage who are driving real change in our industry. These leaders are paving the way for more equitable access to homeownership, financial education, and inclusive leadership. I'm Teresa Palacios Smith, Chief Inclusion and Engagement Officer for Home Services of America, and I'm thrilled you're with us. As always, we invite you to sit back, grab your favorite cafecito, and enjoy what we hope feels like a meaningful conversation among friends. And today's power players are all women I deeply admire and proudly serve alongside on NAHREP's Corporate Board of Governors, which we call CBOG. And NAHREP celebrates 25 years of advancing sustainable Hispanic homeownership this year. And so we're very proud of that. And with me, I want to introduce our power players. I have LaTanya Donaldson, who's Senior Vice President and National Director of Multicultural Community Lending. That's a mouthful. At Prime Lending, and she is a strategic leader with a strong track record in building inclusive programs across major financial institutions. And Latanya and I have a very special bond. We're going to talk about that, some of the things that we've done together. These women are all very close friends. You're going to be able to see that in our conversations because they're not just colleagues. I mean, we work, across in the financial districts, but we also are really good friends. Next, Rosario Lawrence. She's area sales manager at New Res and co-founder of Leader Talks, right? Rosario is a committed mentor, DEI advocate, and also mother who brings authenticity and purpose to everything she does. Welcome, Rosario.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And then Dr. Vanessa Montañez, Senior Vice President and National Community Lending Manager at City National Bank. She has over 25 years of industry experience and a passion for closing the wealth gap. And she is the other half of the co-founder of Leader Talks, which I've had the privilege of participating on, which is such an honor. And she and I serve on several other boards, including we want to mention that we're also part of NAWRB's diversity group as well. So again, she and I know each other for many years, and this group is very close knit. Welcome, welcome, ladies. I'm so proud to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's get started. I always want to know the first question that I think I'd like to hear from you is how did you get started in your path into the lending side of business? Some people say, well, I actually started in real estate, then I transitioned over to mortgage. But what was your beginning and what also let you or inspired you to go into leadership? Because some people started in mortgage as a lender and then said, you know what? I really want to pursue a path of leadership. I'm going to start with you, LaTanya.
Sure, absolutely. That's a really great question. And Teresa, thank you so much for having me on your show today. It truly is an honor. So, I got my or I got my start in the mortgage business back in 1994. I was only 5 years old. But no, so to be honest, my initial motivation was purely financial. I thought I was going to make a lot of money, So when I started, I began as a processor because I knew I needed to gain a solid understanding of the industry before becoming a loan officer. As I delved deeper into the work, something unexpected happened. I discovered the profound impact I could have on people's lives. There was something incredibly rewarding about helping individuals and families achieve their dream of home ownership. It's not, so I soon figured out it just wasn't about the transactions. It was about opening doors to new opportunities and ultimately changing the lives for the better. And, just to get a front seat and witness that and see people, the pride they have when they never thought they would ever achieve homeownership. And you were a part of that. I mean, again, as I said, it's extremely rewarding. I transitioned into leadership probably in the, I have been a loan officer maybe 5 or 6 years. I started to manage a branch, actually with Wells Fargo. That was the first time that I stepped into what I would call the multicultural lending space. So I managed a branch for them, and then went on to Countrywide to do the same, and then got into what I'm doing now.
Beautiful. First of all, I love how you started and what you said about changing lives and how you realized that that was something that you were very passionate about. We started the same year, LaTanya. We did. I can't believe it.
But you were five too.
Yes, I
Yeah.
was. Wow, I can't believe it. How about you, Rosario?
I love it. What year was that? Did you say, LaTanya? 94?
1994. I think we started this
1994.
I
yes.
also started in
In
1994.
I think we all
Wow.
did,
Wow.
actually, all of us.
Oh,
Crazy.
Wow.
God,
Now
that is
that's something we never
amazing.
do. Wow.
Yes.
Something we
So-
learned. Wow.
Yes, October 30th, 1994, Countrywide Home Loans.
Wow.
So, yes, I got
Wow.
started in the industry. I'm going to take this job. Everybody that grows up in my area seems to be working for this company called Countrywide. Let me give it a shot. Interim job while I'm in college. Well, I stayed. I fell in love with the industry. In fact, I started in customer service, answering phones. And there was a team that would be in the same building, same floor, and they were the actual originators. And I was so intrigued. And so my curiosity is what pulled me into the origination side. And I never looked back. I had the opportunity to then meet Dr. Vanessa Montañez early on in my career, and have been very lucky to have her by my side so many years and whatnot. But what really inspired me to go down the leadership path is the fact that someone pulled me into the origination side, showed me a very prosperous, lucrative career, yet you're helping people achieve their own dreams of homeownership and build a foundation of stability for their children. There is a fact that most children do very well when parents are homeowners. And so education was really important for me because I didn't get to have a real college experience per se. As I mentioned earlier, I was in college, had to pay for my books, I had to get a job. So that was really important for me to make sure that I helped that next generation of homeowners and children that at the time were close to my age, right? And or their younger siblings, build that foundation of wealth to help their families put them through college. And so that really inspired me to go into leadership and help those that are coming behind me, help them get into the business and or other avenues of the business. Because as you're aware, this real estate industry has so many different versatile opportunities for everybody to have a prosperous career.
I love that. I love that. First of all, I wasn't in college when I have to be honest with you, but that's very cool that you realized that you loved it and felt, very passionate about it. So, and of course you met Vanessa, and again, we just all have that kind of connecting point to kind of like 6 degrees of separation. Vanessa, you and I met as we entered NAHREP board of the actual board of directors together.
That's
And
right.
so I remember that because we were the first, another 6 degree of separation. We received chapter of the year by Wells Fargo. It was the first chapter of the year. I think remember when they gave that
When we
out
started the chapter
before
of the
they
year.
actually officially now called NAHREP chapters of the year. And our chapters won. We tied for chapters of the year we were entered as a board of directors.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Los Angeles and Atlanta chapters.
Yeah. Yes. Same year.
That's
So
awesome.
tell us a little bit about how you got into.
So I got into the business of mortgage and banking by accident, because I wasn't looking to get into business, but my father has always been my guiding light, my anchor, and he had done successfully being a businessman and also loved real estate and development and building homes. So He let me know I started out as a history major. I loved liberal arts. I loved the art, reading, writing, and I never considered business. And my father was like, Vanessa, do you know how much historians are going to be making a year? And I know the lifestyle that you have and what I've been accustomed to, you're accustomed to. So I think you should need to go into business. So I did switch majors when I was in college and then went into business and hapstance. I got recruited right out of college to go to work at Beneficial, which is all-inclusive subprime kind of alt-A company that you could do credit cards, you could do insurance, you could do personal auto loans, home loans. And this is in the 90s. And so that was my stepping stone. And from there, I got recruited again to Countrywide Home Loans, where the stars aligned and I met my angel, one of my best friends in the industry and in life, Rosario. But I really got into banking in the mortgage industry because I saw it as a powerful vehicle for creating generational wealth, especially for the underserved communities. And early in my career, I realized how transformative home ownership could be. And that lit the fire in me, not only because it's a solution, but also it lead efforts to drive systematic change. And building that generational wealth through real estate in Southern California is life-changing. I later got into leadership because I wanted a seat at the table to make where real decisions are made and are done, right? Where changes are done. And more importantly, to open doors for others that look like me and look like us, for more women of color to be at the table, to be making decisions. And that's where I am. And I think we all have so much more work to do, and then bring in that next generation of leaders to the table and saying, you know what, we're here to help you. We're here to be your mentor and to help you along the way. And don't do this because we were there, we made this error, let's pivot and do this for a solution. So it's been life-changing. I love what I do, building that generational wealth through homeownership. It's a real blessing. And it's a real blessing when you see it grow and develop and you make that impact and build that legacy of wealth to others.
Well, for the audience, if you've seen a tie-in to the generational wealth and how homeownership is so important, I think that message comes clear as we talk to a lot of the women that have been on the show, and especially these women that are powerful women in the financial industry. I'm going to pivot to this other question because I think it's really important because you touched upon it already, Vanessa, and that's with our women of color and how important it is to be seen in our positions, because it really does make a difference having that seat at the table and that voice to really make sure that we are impacting not just, the programs, right? And bringing in others along the way. So tell me, have you faced any kind of challenges in that space? I'm going to start, Rosario, what is that as a minority, a moment that you might have experienced that shaped your resilience, because it was a difficult time, adversity, and has helped you to find leadership where you had to say, you know what? I gotta talk. I gotta speak out because if I don't, others won't get a chance. And I've done it. Therefore, if I do this, it's going to help others along the way.
For me, it really is when the market changes and has drastic shifts, right? That's when there's a lot of cutbacks and there's, consolidations and things of that nature. And at that point is when I really feel I have a responsibility to speak up on how some of the shifts can impact, where it's not just, how can I put it to you, ladies, it's not just about, okay, well, straight just profit, but it's a commitment also to the communities. And I think it crosses between both, right? In order for any company, any successful team to further succeed. Because when the market shifts, sometimes, we struggle on a specific segment. It could be affordability issues, right? On the lending origination side, it could be, the products that are available start getting retracted. And so I really believe that if I am not vocal about the impact community lending can have and offer to our company, then I would be doing a disservice to our communities. And many a times we may not have a seat at the table, specifically in certain rooms, but there's always advocates within all organizations I've ever worked with that are ready to listen and implement and take action on our behalf. You know, we have people here like Latanya, right? I'm sure her leaders within her company come to her, hey, I'm seeing this specific need in my market. Why? What does that look like? And learning how to be able to put a case study available to our leaders that are already either taking that have that specific position within the company to take action, or let's take a look and deep dive into it, Rosario. Let's take a look at how that's going to impact our bottom line per se, but at the same time, it is about doing the right thing as well. But we have to
really is.
we have to speak to the tone of it is bringing a lot of great opportunity for all companies to pay attention. But
and not just to look at the numbers now, and I love that, Rosario, but to also, and I love what you've said, right? To also don't cut without realizing the impact of the future opportunities there are, because there's a lot of future opportunities that you're cutting out right now just because you're thinking this is what we got to do because it's just, it's almost like what people say about the stock market, right? Oh, stay in it for the long run, right? People will do that, especially wealth builders. They understand the impact if you don't stay in it for the long term, because in the long term, you can reap the rewards when you do the right thing. Vanessa, how about you?
Along those lines, the face of the consumer is changing, and it is diverse, and it's multi-layered, it's multi-generational, it's aging, it's the women are leading. So as a woman of color, and adversity happens all the time, there's been many moments in my career where I was the only woman of color in the room and my voice was dismissed or mansplained. I just said something and somebody else just said it from the opposite sex who was white, said the exact same thing and they listened. Lord help me, because that is, I just said that. And so that's been something that happens often. And it would have been easy for me to retreat, but instead I doubled down on my preparation and I built strong alliances. And I've earned my credibility through consistency and results. So at the end of the day, you're showing your production, your numbers, your profitability. And then I'm, sometimes the smartest woman in the room with the most degrees. Because again, I have to prove my worth that I know what I'm talking about. And here's a proof in the pudding and appendixes. And here's some case studies. And here's the results of that. Because as you build things, you also have to have a plan behind you, a business plan, but say, no, here are the results and here are the outcomes. And here is also additional information, references, and appendix, because you know what the hell you're talking about. And so that experience has taught me the value of resilience and important of showing up authentically, right? All of us in this room, in this, right now, we're all being very authentic, even when it's uncomfortable. And it's helped me to lead with empathy and courage, and also asking the questions, right? Recently, there was we were doing a call and somebody said, oh, we have to help those people. I'm like, excuse me, what did you mean by those people? And this one individual leader who's no longer in the company mentioned it twice on very national calls. And that infuriated the hell out of me because it's very difficult. But I came from a place of education, respect. Excuse me, what did you mean by those people? I don't understand. And so I always give the person grace, humility, explain yourself with that, those people. So that's how I like to lead. I want to be always authentic, empathetic, listen and learn, and also one-on-one individually be in that with that person and say, you know what, you disrespected me by saying those people. I don't appreciate your answer, and this is why you have to think differently. But I'm not going to call you out. I'll call you out publicly, but also privately, give you time to reflect, learn, and so we can grow together, because that does happen a lot.
That's what we call a chingona, mijita. I really love that because it's so true. Sometimes we have to step up and speak up.
Yes.
Even when it's difficult, because that's the only way that we can actually hear our voices and help others understand this is what's best for everyone and for the company and for the bottom line, and represent the people that we represent, right?
Right.
And I know that's hard. Latanya, have you found that in your case too?
Oh my God, absolutely. I could just really ditto everything that Vanessa just said because my situation I faced was very similar. And I think for me, or let me say this, I think that most women, right, regardless of ethnicity or, you know, at times we really suffer from imposter syndrome. And I think the reason why we we're probably plagued with it a little bit more because of what Vanessa said. We are sitting in meetings, we are sitting at the table, and we're making suggestions, and I mean, really, it gets totally ignored. But then someone else says it in the room, right? And now it becomes very relevant. And so I think, having said, for me, I've had to go back and realize, and I bring my spirituality into this, I have to remember who I am and whose I am, right? I was given this opportunity for a reason. The minute that I say that and I go back to that, even me saying it now, I can just feel that confidence coming up, right? Because I was placed here. It is with purpose that I walk out every day.
Amen.
So I think when you understand your purpose, then yeah, it's not easy, but you say it with confidence. You are able to sit at that table and raise your hand and say, I am supposed to be here. I
Yes.
am, that's right. I
Yes.
earned this. I
Yes.
earned this. I'm supposed to be
You
here.
did. You
Right.
have the experience, the knowledge
All
that
of
you're,
us, all of
yes.
us, we are here for a reason. And
Yeah.
I think, you just have to, I mean, so I'll give you an example. Well, even now in this current climate, right? The whole talk about DEI and being in positions like this, I mean, we're really having to defend this
Yeah, we
and
are. We
why
have.
it is important, right? And that was one of the first things I did. I went straight to our executive leadership and I said, hey, where do we stand on this? I need to know now.
Yep.
And I'll have to tell you, it was a very refreshing conversation. I'm so glad I work for a company where that they're still committed to this work because they understand that it is important for us to really continue to build on what we have. It's all about diversity, right? We have to embrace diversity. So, again, we have to have the conversations, but I think that is what separates you as a leader. But, I would say don't ever give up. I just continue to lean into my mission. I'm determined to make a difference because I feel like I know that that's my purpose and that's why I'm here.
I can see, we can all see why these women are so powerful and just so committed. I love this conversation. And I have to say, even among women, because you were saying we're usually sometimes the only women in the room, but even speaking up or other ideas being noted or more important, this happens within our own color. Like even like if we're among Latinos, and
Mhm.
Rosario and Vanessa, tell me if I'm wrong. If a male Latino brings up the idea or you say it, it doesn't get the weight it does when somebody that's a male counterpart will say it. You're like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I just said that. Why is them saying it more important than what I just said, right?
Mhm.
It's like, what's going on here? So it's definitely we see it even in our own communities. So I
Mhm.
love what you said, and I think we just need to change that balance and and find our purpose and speak our voice, right? Now, Vanessa, you recently, and it's not recent because I think it's been a couple years that you earned your doctorate, which is an incredible accomplishment. And I think that has given you a huge, like you just said, advanced degree and also credibility, right? Hey, I'm usually the only one with this doctorate background, right? How's that influenced your leadership or perspective in how you lead?
Thank you. So earning my doctorate degree was a personal milestone and a professional mission for myself. I had recently gotten laid off from a position I didn't see coming, and I had time and had a nice little severance package. And I'm not one to sit idle. I'm like, okay, what's next? And the higher you go up in your career, in whatever industry you're in, the positions of higher management don't come every day. So sometimes you have to wait and sit for it when the opportunity and the alignment is there, right, for the opportunity. And so I am not one to sit idle. I'm always busy, and I like to be a good busy. And so my good busy was like, well, what do I want to do? I have some time off now. I could, take a little sabbatical. And to me was go back to school. And I wanted to go back to know what good leadership looked like, because from the mortgage meltdown, they blamed the media, the press, was blaming, oh, those loan officers and realtors, they got us into this, the global meltdown of the
Mhm.
mortgages. And that's not necessarily true. I'm sorry. Mortgage loan officers, run-of-the-mill companies did not create derivatives, did not create the option arms, but this is from top-down leadership. So that's where I really wanted to go back to school and have a deeper understanding of, the systematic barriers and bring data-driven insights to community lending. And that I wanted to also know what a good leader looked like. So going back to school, it allowed me to elevate my voice in academic and policy circles. The journey taught me to be patient, disciplined, and the power of knowledge, and how to do really good research, how to really dig deep into the data, how to write better, how to write an APA style, which I had no idea when I went back to school. What the hell is that? American Psychological Association. So I'm like, so you had to read and write like a doctor, a medical journal. So it really helped me influence how my leadership style was going to be done. It also is a message to others. Our potential is limitless when we invest in ourselves. So I went back to school to, keep sharpening my saw, just like in the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So to me, it was just a chance to go back and do a personal development for myself, for my career, and really look at what good leadership looked like, how to be a better leader. And it's been wonderful experience, because now I'm able to look at every angle, write a little bit better, articulate my findings stronger in another light, so I can make more change in housing and what we do in home lending. So it's been a great experience thus far. And deep down inside, I think I'm going to be an educator for the rest of my life. So if I ever retire, I probably will be
You
teaching,
could always go back.
writing.
You can go to teaching, which is amazing. And now
Yeah,
there's so many
Yeah.
formats
Right.
that allow for, online teaching, which I think is beautiful,
yeah.
for sure. And you and I, LaTanya, have a commonality in that we both decided to pursue our certificates and diplomas in DE&I, because we felt like we really wanted to understand that space as well. And so tell me about that experience, because I don't know how Vanessa did hers, because I thought it was so freaking hard. It kicked my butt.
Absolutely. Yes. Because I mean, I had not been in a classroom environment and oh goodness, 30
Mine was
years or
online.
so.
Was yours online?
Yes, it was online. And yeah, it was, to your point, it was difficult, but it was so worth the challenge. I mean, completing my DEI certificate, was a real significant step for me, because it was really driven by a desire to foster a more inclusive workplace and community. I truly believe that diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's not just buzzwords. There are essential principles that enhance not only, our organizations, but also our society as a whole. And, what motivated me was the recognition that true leadership, it really requires an understanding of diverse perspectives and experiences of all of those around us. And So then when I look at the data, about the growth of Hispanic populations and other minority groups, I think it's crucial for leaders to be equipped with the tools and the knowledge to advocate and, for and support these communities effectively. So this experience has profoundly, shaped my work and has truly contributed to me being a better leader.
I could not agree with you more, and learning and understanding all the different nuances that are part of even
Absolutely.
the internal and external parts of, what we do, especially in inclusion, belonging, and making people have psychological safety, all these terms that I had never heard
Yes.
in my
Yes.
life, right?
Yes.
Had, like you were saying, Vanessa,
Yeah.
learning the acronyms that are, every day for most students. I really, really gained a huge respect for our
Yeah.
kids that
Yeah.
in college, right? Because it is very
Absolutely.
difficult today. And of course, certainly to me, just made me a better person and a better um, learner and a
Yes.
better, individual altogether. And so I have a huge respect for you because you told me, and I'll never forget, because you started at first, how hard it was, but I truly
Yes.
understood,
Writing
gained a
the
deep
papers.
respect.
Writing the papers.
Oh
Oh
Lord,
my
yes.
God.
Deep respect
And
for
Vanessa,
anyone.
that's on a whole different level for you, a
Yeah.
dissertation.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. For all of
Writing
you
a
out there,
book.
just know if we did it, you can do it too. I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah,
honestly,
that's what
Absolutely.
I would say. If I
because
did it, anybody can.
I honestly will tell you, if I did not think I could, yeah, I did. So Rosario, you and I talked, we laughed because you express a lesson. We're going to talk about just personal life stories because we connected about your daughter getting her driver's license, which is such a big milestone. And some of the things that I think we're losing in companies today is understanding that personal connection with our people and life experiences that we all have. And how do you navigate those demands because you're a leader? You are traveling right now. You're not even in your office at home, right? While
Yeah.
embracing the journey of motherhood as we celebrate, y'all, we celebrate
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day this weekend and all that comes with it. And I know this is a question people hate. How do you manage? And that's not the question I'm asking, is I think it's more understanding the connection that we all have and the personal importance of all of us that we are dealing with sometimes mental health. It is Mental Health Awareness Month for many of us that do not know um, all these things, all these challenges, and the fact that you were like freaking out because your daughter just got her driver's license, right? And you're a mother, but yet you're a leader too, right?
Yeah.
So talk about that.
Oh, that was it was a changing moment for me. I finally closed a chapter. It was one of those times where I realized I just closed a chapter of my life, and it just hit me so hard because it's like in that instant I like looked in the rear view mirror and I thought, wow, seriously, that baby that I saw go from that car seat in the back through my rear view mirror to then hopping onto the front of the car. I have a shotgun now. Now she's off on her own. I'm not even monitoring her driving. So it was a really emotional day for me. I'll never forget Cinco de Mayo
Cinco de
of this
Mayo.
year. But yeah, no, but in all seriousness, I had like some time to think about it while I've been away traveling for business. And I thought, the way we manage and just be a mother and a leader, and it's number one with a very good calendar. And now with AI, forget about it. I'm like really watch out. Now I'm really powerful. But it's one of those things that you just look at, and at the end of the day, I look at it that I hope I'm setting a very good example for her of what it looks like. She gets it here at home. She will see it in the real world when she steps away. I certainly hope that she gets gets it at school. She goes to a great school with a solid foundation. But I really, at the end of the day, is her foundation at home, and that she's seen her mom juggle the career, the travel, the ups and downs of our industry, and do it with grace, and that she can take that away and walk away and say, I can do this. And then she has aunties like Vanessa and Chantal, and she's amongst all my world, right? So she's getting to see everything that we do. And I really just hope that as I manage all of that I'm putting a good example in front of her, and also for all the other young women that are coming behind.
Well, one of the things too that I think makes it such a neat thing is that the fact that we all also can relate to people in our companies that we lead. Because when they come to us and say, look, I'm just going to school at night and I'm trying to, you're like, okay, I understand. I've been there. Or my daughter just got, or my son just did this. You're like, okay, let's move things around, and we understand, we've been there. I think it makes us more empathetic, and we understand and relatable to the people that are part of our teams. I think that's a big part of the culture that we've created, which is part of the fact that women, I think, for the most part, make the best leaders, right? So as we move on, one thing we also all have in common is being part of CBOG, right? And I'm going to talk about that ties us. We talked about it. What does that personally mean to you, being part of this organization, being part of the board of governors? And not only that, because we're also part of ARIA, many of us will connect in other organizations that are really driven about increasing homeownership in these communities. So anyone that wants to answer that question. So I'm just leaving it open to whoever wants to answer that question.
I'll take that question. So being part of NAHREP, the CBOG, has a lot of deep meaning for myself personally. I remember the first event that I went with Rosario in Los Angeles. I want to say 25 years ago, Rosario. We went to Union Station in downtown Los Angeles, and it was the first time I felt seen, heard, and part of a mission of sustainable homeownership, that I was around a group of people that were professional, that looked like us, that spoke our language, culturally centric, and I felt I belonged at NAHREP. Little did I know, thanks to Rosario's influence, we were both working at Countrywide. I remember like yesterday. Remember that, Rosario?
I do.
I'm like, Vanessa, hey, I heard about this NAHREP. You want to go? I'm like, yeah, girl, let's go. We loved it, right? We felt seen and heard. And this is when we were like starting our careers at a call center. We're doing phenomenally well. We were like,
You were it,
our
girls. You were it, girls.
yeah,
You're it, girl.
it was wonderful. But I felt seen and heard. And personally, it's a reminder that I'm not alone on this journey. And I'm also surrounded by fierce, passionate leaders that have that same common mission. And all of you ladies on this call have that fierce passion, because I've seen it. I love all of you on this call because we are all at the Corporate Board of Governors. Latanya just was the chair not that long ago, and her passion, her commitment is just amazing. And now it's Dion, and she's doing a wonderful job. And it's the sisterhood that we've built, not just at this organization, but across our industry, that just, I'm always surrounded by amazing people. And professionally, it reinforces my responsibility to advocate for policies and practices that expand the access of homeownership for all, not just for Hispanics. And also with NAHREP's 25-year anniversary, the legacy is a testament to the power of community, culture, and collaboration. And I'm honored to carry that and, carry that torch and carry it forward to others. So I just love being part of this organization. I love what Ernie and Gary created. Gary Acosta is still the founder, co-founder, but I see him as a coach, as a friend, as an ally. And when I see Gary, it's nothing but love. I'm like, hey, coach, guess what? And I call him coach because he loves education. He loves the commitment that he's doing, but also he loves sports. So it's just, it goes hand in hand calling him coach. But it's just a wonderful organization. And I'm glad that we all are part of this, especially with you ladies. I feel blessed to be part of this, and along with you.
Oh, I hope Gary watches. We need to send him this
Yeah.
this special episode because I think he knows the influence he has, obviously, but this is really very special. How about you, Latanya?
Yeah, again, ditto.
CBOG Queen,
That
again,
You did
beautiful.
phenomenal.
But yeah, I mean, you said it so well. But I would say being a part of NAHREP's corporate board of governors, and contributing to its 25-year legacy is incredibly meaningful to me, both personally and professionally. When you look at recent data from the U.S. Census Bureau that highlights, the remarkable growth of the Hispanic population, which accounted for a staggering 71% of U.S. population growth between 22 and 23. It's a great place to be, right? And professionally, I see this growth as a pivotal, opportunity to serve a vibrant and expanding market. To me, it's exciting to think about, or what is the study by 2040, 70% of new homeowners, yes, 2040, 70% of new homeowners will be Hispanic. This reality drives our initiatives at NAHREP, and where we advocate for homeownership and economic empowerment, within our communities. Personally, being a part of this leadership group means standing alongside visionary leaders, just like Vanessa said, Gary Acosta, Nuria, so many others, who are committed to uplifting the community. As Vanessa said, I mean, it has been, I've gained so many amazing friends, each of you on this call. It has really grown my network. And it feels like family. I mean, it feels so.
It is family. It is
family. It's familiar.
I
And
mean,
I will tell you. So Jerry told me a long time ago, because I know Gary gets this question asked a lot too. I'm like, I need to learn how to speak Spanish. I've always wanted to learn how to speak Spanish, and yes, I'm going to tackle that. Only because I just think it's a beautiful language. And I feel, I'm like, oh, it's just I love it. It's a beautiful language. But Jerry told me a long time ago, he's like, you don't have to learn how to speak Spanish to be a part of this group. But I told him, I said, then he told me, he said, but if you want to learn, you need to go out and watch the soap operas.
for sure.
Right, exactly. He said,
that's where you learn it all.
Right, exactly. So, but no, NAHREP has always embraced me. It's family. I had a time when, unfortunately, I was hospitalized. I mean, I look over and, Gary and the leadership team sends me flowers, so, I mean, it's family. It's so much bigger, than the business aspect for me. Again, I have been embraced, and I just love every person that's a part of the organization. I really do.
Again, Gary and Ernie, because I actually joined, and I still remember the Countrywide House. I went to Denver. That was my first conference. And remember the little Countrywide House that was part of the board, the main entrance when you walked in. I still remember that. How about Rosario? You want to add anything?
Oh, I love it. I echo both Latanya and Dr. Vanessa Montañez. Absolutely. It is familia. Right now, though, as I am early on, year and a half
newer.
into, I'm a newer CBOG member, and it has been an honor. It really has. And I feel a huge sense of responsibility for, number one, I've been with NAHREP since day one. I was at the first corporate board of governors installation day one and haven't looked back since. And at every organization I have been a part of, I have always felt a sense of responsibility professionally to advocate for NAHREP. I want to work for a company that supports NAHREP. So now being the one representing NERA's Home Lending on the corporate board of governors, it's a huge honor, and it's a responsibility for me when I get back to the office to share everything that is being discussed and where we're headed as NAHREP, and how that's going to be an opportunity for the organization I work for to go ahead and be innovative and take everything that NAHREP is doing, they're writing it for us, and let's continue to grow. And so I sit at these two in a position with the CBOG that I get to enjoy my familia and I get to enjoy what I do and just bring it together. So I'm definitely having a great time with it.
Well, I know you're newer, but you've been always with us. And
Yes.
one of the things that I will say, I've actually had the honor of serving as national president and then as co-chair of CBOG, as you know, with Sergio Barajas, who is now head of the construction division, which now is a brand new division. We have the beautiful report that is pulled out that provides all the data for those who are not familiar with the organization. I'd be surprised if you don't know about it. So we just wanted to do
Been
a plug for
ongoing
this.
15 years. That's
Yes,
incredible.
amazing data that provides everything that you need to know about the homeownership rates in this country, the wealth opportunities there are, and the strong market that the Latinos bring in every aspect of our industry, in every aspect of business. So as we move on, this is more personal questions. I really want to know, who do you admire right now? Because people want to know, are you listening to anyone? Who's your mentor? Who you're inspired or influenced by, so that others can learn who they might want to watch. People love to follow other leaders. So I'll start with you, Vanessa.
So I love reading. That's one of my passions in life. So right now, I deeply admire women who lead both from strength and vulnerability. So leaders like Michelle Obama, who embody grace under pressure. Her book, Becoming, was wow. It was very eye-opening because she is, she was the wife of the president of the United States, and that's like a high visibility job,
Huge.
and she did it so well. So I wanted to know more about her. So it was just an incredible opportunity to read her book. And one of my favorite quotes from her book was, "Becoming is not about arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim. It's about the journey of continued growth." So to me, this quote reflects the idea that the process of growth and self-discovery is ongoing and continuous to one's identity. So I was like, oh my God.
That
So
is perfect.
I loved that quote from that book and I took it. So when I see her, she's a baddie in my book, in my eyes. But I'm also inspired by everyday trailblazers, community leaders, educators, entrepreneurs who are making a real change and without any fanfare, like behind the scenes that you don't know about. And their stories remind me that their leadership isn't always about titles, but it's about impact. So I love being in the community. I love hearing about success stories and other leaders that may not be, getting all the
In the limelight,
notoriety,
right?
but they're there, and one of those would be also my mother, who she's just a baddie herself. She was making it happen. She raised her kids with my father, but I love how she is. She's a selfless leader. She comes from grace and love. She's 100% brutally honest, but she's also one of my best friends. So I always look at that aspect. I look at like a Michelle Obama and then my mother and then other women in everyday lives that are making an impact. So a
Oh,
combination of
beautiful.
stuff.
Beautiful. Latanya?
Man, that was a tough question
I,
because there are so
so
many.
many, right?
Oh yeah, I would say within our industry or within this space, Sarita Battles has always been an inspiration for me, and we have a very close relationship. But right now, I would have to say I deeply admire Thasanda Brown Duckett, who's the CEO of TIAA. And of course, we're all familiar with her as she's affectionately known as T. She was with Chase, but I really feel like she exemplifies what it means to be a leader, in the financial services world while maintaining her authentic self. And it appears to me she has an extremely healthy, and I hate using the term work-life balance, but she talks about that a lot. And I think another thing that really inspires me a lot with her is how she embraces being vulnerable. And, she isn't afraid to share her journey. I think that's really important. I often say, when I think about the word testimony, right, there's a test in that. But my story, I don't own the rights to my own story. It is to be shared and to be told. And I think she does a great job with that. She also, she talks about how she stands on the shoulders of those who came before her, but she also lifts others up, and what she says. And, she's shown that leadership, it doesn't mean about being on top. It also means, how you should stay grounded and be accessible to those who you lead. But one of my favorite quotes by her is she says, "I rent my title, I own my character. My
Oh,
title
wow.
belongs to my employer. My character is the Sonda Brown Duckett's ownable asset." I just think that
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 is a
sums it up.
beautiful,
It just sums it
beautiful.
up.
I've not heard that. That is
Mhm.
awesome. Awesome. One to keep. One to keep. I'm going to write that
Yeah.
one
She is a
down.
dynamic
Yeah.
leader, and I
Thank
had the
you.
pleasure.
Yes.
She was my
Thank you.
boss at one time, and she's
Oh,
amazing.
I
Yes.
love it.
Mhm.
Rosario, anything to
Yes.
add?
She was my boss as well. And I enjoy working with her so much. In fact, I during COVID, I'll share a little something about tea. I was in this group on Instagram. It would go live at 5 p.m. and I jump in there and I was like, oh, it's tea, she's talking. And that's when I learned about work-life balance. She talks about you're balancing your life like a portfolio, right? Just like your stocks, you have bonds, you have 401, you have, and not
Mhm.
everything's going to perform at the same rate sometimes. And it's okay.
Mhm.
And when she
Absolutely.
said that, I was just like, oh, I gotcha. I got it. Thank you. Yeah. And that quote is beautiful. I often think of it. And when times are tough at work, when you're doubting yourself, it's that one quote that comes to my mind. Yeah. Because being
I
a
needed
leader,
to
I
hear
don't
that.
need
Yeah.
a specific title, right? But we are going to be who we are. And I often think of that and it gives me the strength to go, okay, let's do this. So love that you talked about her. So with that being said, I would have to say who I admire is everybody that's in the industry, all the women that are, they're fighting it out. There's not one specific person because we could look at some that have achieved much. You have your celebrities and you have your high-powered women, and then you have some that are in the trenches. So I celebrate and I admire every single person out there because regardless, back to titles, back to what you have in the bank, what you have in whatever you've achieved, I know that every single woman out there is fighting their fight. So I admire them all.
Oh, beautifully said.
Mhm.
Beautifully said. And we're almost running out of time. I've loved this so much, y'all. You have no idea. This has been such a special time. I do want to say who my admire because I had thought about this, and I have my mother's. Both. I have my mother Mercedes, who adopted me at a very young age, and is in heaven. She died when I was 18. Is somebody who touched my life, even though she was only in my life for 11 years. Her impact on my life has been such a significant one that I just always have to reach out and say that she really was a huge part of it. My mother Bernardina, who I only got to meet for a couple years, also blessed me. And then my sisters and my daughter, my sisters who have all been with me and who have struggled, themselves with different, you know, health issues and who we all struggled with abuse in our a lot of people don't know we had a very abusive childhood, so they have been so strong, and so I just want to give them just acknowledgement how I feel such a tie close with them. So again, all right, as we close, I want one last thing. We always ask each one of you give us a quick favorite book. You've already given us some quotes, favorite book or podcasts, as we sign off. If you have one, and if you've already given it, that's okay. Vanessa, real quick.
Okay, a quote by Maya Angelou. I come as one, but I stand on 10,000. And it reminds
Oh, what happened? Vanessa froze.
Rose.
Okay, Vanessa, you froze. That was beautiful. Okay, go ahead, Latanya. Was that your quote too?
I would say my book, okay, that I lean on, The Four Agreements
Mm,
by Don Miguel Ruiz. It just deeply resonates with my leadership style. You know, the book emphasizes different concepts, but being impeccable, with your word, not taking things personally. I say that one to myself every day. It is not about me. And so that one is huge. And always, always just do your best. That's all you have. When you don't have anything else, you can always come out and try and do your best.
that's beautiful. All right. Hopefully, I was hoping that Vanessa could join us back, but I loved that she started with that beautiful quote. And I really want to let all of you know that it's been such an honor to have you on the show today. It has been really a special episode. I think it really reminds me that power of friendship that we have developed through our collaboration with NAHREP. That's the connecting point for me. That's how I met each and every one of you. And for all of you out there, I really want to thank you all for joining us. I think this is definitely a shining example of what it means to lead with purpose, with passion, and with power. I want to thank you again. And don't forget that we do have our next episode of Diversity Matters. That's going to air on May 28th. So catch us for that. And then also back here on June the 11th, we've got our Women Who Lead series that will air once again. And don't forget that this episode, if you missed it, is going to be a podcast. It'll become a podcast in about 2 weeks. So you'll be able to listen to it wherever you subscribe, whether it's Apple or Spotify, you can download it. So ladies, you'll be able to also be able to kind of share it with your group of friends as well. Until next time, remember, power isn't about position, it's about purpose. Stay well, stay inspired. Remember, it's a beautiful weekend this weekend. It's Mother's Day. So, to each of you, happy Mother's Day. And
Thank you.
remember, keep
Happy